Bang!
Bang! Needs Knives. I'm Jared with my lovely wife, Kara.
Hello.
And we are live, ladies and gentlemen. Live
and these are not donuts, these are hair.
Live on a members only live. So if you are not a member, you are not going to be able to comment. Only members can comment. I'm allowing everybody to see this one because we didn't move everything over to the sharpening spot. We do have the computer and everything ready. So I won't have to move everything when I go over there. I'll only have to move my camera, which will make it so much easier. Because right now I have to move everything over there. The only problem is I'm not going to have my screen that I can see very clearly. So I might buy another screen for over there just to have one. So
can I show my drip?
Hurry up. Go.
Okay. Not the outfit. You think I'm talking about the outfit, right? But listen,
I told you to turn that down.
It doesn't, no matter what, when it, okay. All right, you see the color flow, right? You see? All right, ready for the EDC drip? This is called the KAVISO drip. All right, we got the black with the blue on here. Perfect match. Am I right?
Yeah.
Perfect match.
Yeah.
All right, hold that up for them, baby. And then we got the KAVISO nurse. Anybody? Perfect. Absolute perfect in person. You can tell them how good that is, right? The drip is dripping. Like it's really drippy in here.
All right, drippy. You've got this.
But you didn't show them the noise.
Well, they've seen the nurse.
Well, they need to see it with the drip. Yeah, I mean, I had this little waka chow for some flair, you know, but
so today we are sharpening three different knives.
Are you dripping?
No.
Why?
Because I'm sharpening. Today we are sharpening three different knives. I'm going to sharpen up the WE knives PRAXIS. So this is the new PRAXIS. I've been carrying the heck out of it. So I've already stropped it multiple times, and it's just about that time. It needs a new edge. S35VN. We're also going to just tune up. We're not going to do a full sharpening on it, but we're going to tune up this fat fella right here. What the heck was the name of this guy again? The Mini Paragon.
That's Kaiser, what I banged with on the open.
The Kaiser Mini Paragon.
So we'll talk my ass.
So we'll talk about doing, well, the custom's a lot bigger. We'll talk about doing this recurve and then the Tonto, but we're just going to be maintaining it. So we're going to bring back the edge. Redneck Rider, shout out to him. He became a new member.
You are from Bulgaria, if I remember correctly.
Then we have to sharpen up this chef knife. Now, normally I would bust out my natural water stones that are not natural. They're aluminum oxide, but that's what I would normally use for this. But because we're still in the studio, I'm not going to make the mess. And that's why I always recommend diamonds to you guys, especially at first, because they're not messy. Like there's no soaking and flattening and all the bullshit that comes with whetstones. So we're going to use diamonds instead, which will be just fine. But I do think that for certain steels, this is a 9CR between 58 and 60 HRC. So 9CR steel, you can sharpen it on diamonds, no problems, or you can sharpen it on aluminum oxide. You can basically sharpen it on whatever. Anything but, like, you know, steel, but as long as it's an abrasive stone of some sort. Bama Knife Guy says, please tell me y'all saw me lose the gun off with Fiend last
It's in the group thing.
I don't think I did. I don't think I did see it. I'll have to go back and see it.
Sounds hilarious.
Yeah, it does. Amen to that. Whetstones are a process, and if you don't have a solid slip-proof base, they move a lot. There's a lot that goes into whetstones. That's the thing, is that, and this is the weird part, is that online you'll see knife sharpeners like constantly using whetstones and recommending them, which is just crazy to me, because like even with oil stones, like they're messy, they're just a lot to them. Don't get me wrong, they're awesome. and with certain steels, especially carbon steels, they probably work the best with carbon steels. But diamonds work great for every steel. That's the beauty of them. So it doesn't matter what steel or HRC or anything, diamonds works, and they are not messy. They're flat, perfectly flat. You don't have to worry about flattening them. So we're going to use first the Atoma Diamond Plate 140 for reprofiling. Then we're going to use some Veneves. Now, when we get to the recurve, we're going to have to use the skinny Veneves, and we'll talk about that and how to do the recurve. I do have this new ceramic rod from WorkSharp. I always tell you guys, get a damn ceramic rod. It's one of the best tools. It's like a multi-tool for a sharpener. If you're a knife sharpener, a ceramic rod is a multi-tool for you. You can use it for so many different things. Like even today, maybe we'll use it. Like for deburring or something. No, you know what? Actually, we're gonna hone this just to see how much I can bring it back with the honing rod and strop, because it is pretty much dead. But then we'll resharpen it though, just after that. Let me get out the base. So we're gonna start off, like I said, with a 140 grit Atoma. Atomas, the cool thing about Atomas is that they use clusters of diamonds. So if you look at this plate, you can see it's not just diamonds, it's clusters of diamonds. It's a little dirty, but it's little clusters of diamonds all over it. So it's very, very abrasive off the start. Much more abrasive than most diamond plates, even at the same grit. So a 300 grit diamond from Ultra Sharp or DMT is not going to be as aggressive as a 300 Atoma. I don't even think they make 300 Atomas. I think they go from 140 to 400. But the 400 is more aggressive than a lot of the 300s, at least for the first few dozen sharpenings. What?
Oh dear.
Do you use the soft or rough side of leather for stropping? Maybe both. So it depends on the compound you're using. So as far as using emulsions, I would say use the firmer side, not the rough side. So not the suede side. Like you see this one's got a diamond abrasive on it. This is the firm side, right? I have a strop here where both sides are firm, but that's because I'm using the diamond emulsion. If I was using the crayon stuff, the stuff that comes off like a chalk, then I would use the suede side. So it just depends on the type of emulsion you're using, because the way it holds the abrasive in the pores is what's important. So with emulsions, you need it to sit on the top layer, like of the surface. I mean, with all stropping things, you need it to stay at the surface, but with the suede side, the crayon stuff can really get in between the fibers and stuff. And not saying that you can't use that stuff on the firm side. You can, vice versa. But when you use emulsions on the suede side, it just soaks in. Like it's very difficult to spread it out. Like as soon as you put it on there, you'll go to spread it and it'll just soak right into that spot because there's so many fibers. Okay, so we don't need to use water or anything like that. If you want to use some sort of lubrication, because it does make your stones last, especially plates, diamond plates, last a little bit longer if you use some type of lubricant. I just personally don't want the mess, but I recommend using soap and water. How much soap?
Chris Jones with 2 bones. Afternoon. All you knife nuts and nuts, like button, please.
Thank you, Chris Jones. So when I put water inside my bottle, listen to how you'll hear the water stop slushing around. You hear how you hear it, like you can hear it at first slushing around and then it stops because the bubbles expand. That's how much soap you want. I'm just going to throw a little tiny squirt on this. There's really no reason why I'm doing that. I'm just kind of cleaning it off because it is kind of dirty. But for the most part, I run them dry. But you don't have to do that. You can run it with water. Just getting rid of the fibers. The problem with scrubbing paper towel on diamond plates is the fibers will get into the diamond. So what you want to do is you want to splash it. And then if you do rub it, let it dry and then dust it off. The fibers will come off that way. All right, so first we're going to start off with this and then we'll go to the recurve. We don't need to do many stones with this. So I'm sure a lot of you guys know, but a lot of people think that you have to move through like a dozen stones. You don't need to move past 2 stones. You can use just 2 stones and get a perfect edge. So the point is you want something really coarse for the reprofiling. So like a 140. Now my next stone, I could do a 300 grit, a 400 grit. I don't want to jump too high. The highest I could probably go is 600 grit, but I'd probably go 400 or 300, then go to 600 grit. But if you reprofile on, like, say, a 400 grit or something, you can go to 1,000 after that. So you just don't want too much of a jump, but that second stone, past 400 grit, between 400 and 1,000 grit, is going to be perfectly fine for most things you're going to do with your knife. So I'm not trying to lower my angle too much on this one, maybe slightly. I'm going to do it slightly. So if you watch right now, you can see there's a shadow underneath the edge. So I know I haven't hit my angle yet, right? So I'm going to lift my spine up until you see the reflection come back at you. Bam! See that? That's the angle. See how the reflection came back at you? Shadow underneath the edge. We don't want that. We want to lift the spine.
How do you do that if you're alone, like not looking in a camera? Do you just face it towards yourself first?
Yeah, you can just face it towards yourself. And then try to match it as best as possible. Now, you don't have to be perfect, okay? If you're slightly, that's one thing that, a lot of people think, like, they're so worried about, is it right there? Is it perfect? If it's not perfect, it's okay. Just make sure whatever angle you start with, you just continue and use. And if there's like an adjustment that needs to be made, make the adjustment and then stick with whatever adjustment you make. Meaning, like, say if you realize, like, oh man, my angle's a little bit too low, well, then raise it up and continued with that raised angle, but continue and keep going with that same angle. Don't move around. You don't want to switch angles, every time you put it down. So you want to try to make sure you're getting right about the same angle every time. Or you want the exact same angle every time. But what I mean is, as soon as you pick it up, you want to make sure you lay it back down at the same angle. And then when you go to the other side, same thing. You want to try to get it really close. So this is probably about 20 degrees. That's what we're going to go with on this. I'm guessing on the knife, it's probably 25 degrees per side. It's just a guess, but it's probably pretty accurate.
You got a thingy.
Hang on a second. So I'm going to lower it down to 20 degrees, which is not going to be much. But since I'm doing 20 degrees, that means my scratch pattern is going to start at the top of the bevel. You should always start your scratch pattern at the top of the bevel. Top of the bevel's right here, right? And then I want my scratch pattern to go down to the apex. Go ahead.
Can you sharpen a piece of stainless steel or an old cast iron utensil you have in your kitchen from Redneck?
No.
Rider?
No, you wouldn't want to do that because the steels are soft. So, like, that's why I don't recommend honing rods. So there's a few different reasons why I don't recommend honing rods. One, there's just much better abrasives out there. So, but like pots and pans and stuff and those types of steels, those are like 40 HRC. This is 58 to 60 right here. I have steels that are 65 to 70 HRC. So it's just crazy to think that, and that's why with the honing rods, I don't recommend them because I think they range between like 48 and like 56 HRC or something like that. Now, maybe there's some honing rods out there that are like 65, but I still wouldn't want to sharpen my knife on them or hone with them because there's a much better abrasive out there, which is ceramic. Ceramic not only will add the teeth to the edge that you want, unlike steel, but it will also be hard enough that it's more effective faster, and it's guaranteed to be hard enough, right? With steels, even at 65, I wouldn't want to use that on my steels that are 58 or 60. There's not that much of a difference there. Especially if I don't even know if it's true, like it hasn't even been tested. Like, just because the company says it, how many times have we seen a company say that it's one HRC, but it's really another, right? That happens all the time. And now think about honing steel rods, right? Do you think that those things are ever on point? Like, of course not. They're super cheap. They're made by the thousands at a time, heat treated probably thousands at a time. There's no way those things are consistent. Dennis, thank you for the 2 crackers. Everyone who's new to sharpening, read my comment. Dennis says he came in around 30K followers, members since day 1. He's been a member since day 1. Ooh, it just moved on me. Here's a little advice I'm still learning. Start with the work sharp, professional, adjust. Now I'm learning freehand. Stick to Jared's advice and all will be good. Trust me. Thank you, Dennis.
So the advice is to listen to Jared's advice.
So, well, he started with the precision. adjust. So that means he started
Yeah.
with a fixed angled system, and now he's on the freehand, which is really good because once you get the understanding of sharpening, then you can, you know, really start honing in on your skill because you start understanding the basics, right? And that's what he learned with the precision adjust. He learned the basics.
This is old Bama Lama's advice.
That's right. Consistency is key. If you notice an issue, correct it quickly and hold your angle. Yes. Stick to the angle. Like right now, I can feel the angle, but that's not going to be typical. Most of you guys are not going to be able to feel the angle that you are sharpening.
I still think my idea of bracing your wrist, that's your primary angle holding arm, would like maybe not be a bad idea if you struggle with it. You know, like literally wearing like a
brace.
splint on it.
Yeah.
You know, like the kind you can just slip on because it just keeps you more steady.
I'd rather somebody just learn how to be steady.
Yeah,
so
but it's like swinging a bat with a donut on it first, and then you take it off and, you know, you do the real deal.
Anyway, so I can feel the angle that I'm holding, but most of you are not going to be able to do that, especially for a long time. So don't worry about being able to feel the angle. Just worry about locking your wrist in place and using your elbow.
Spanky likes your marker trick.
The marker trick works really good too. We'll talk about that here in 1 second. So
we actually had a cool thing really quick, if I could just share quickly, where we had a Boy Scouts troop reach out, and because one of the troop dads or leaders or whatever they're called, I guess was showing the troop of boys Jared's finger video when they were learning how to like sharpen, you know, moras and stuff like that on their stones, and they sent us a picture with all of them with the marker on their little thumbprints. And it was really cool. It was cool to see something like that make it that far. So we wound up, you know, getting it was only 5 boys in the troop, so we wound up getting them all a knife and sending it to them. It was really cool.
So the marker trick, since we're talking about it, might as well jump to it.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. Is a line I just put in the middle of my thumb, and then I match it up to my pointer finger, just like that. Kiss them together. Now that I see it over there, I mark that spot. You can do it with a pen or marker, and then now I just set my finger down on the stone, and you can see that line. That is the angle. So now I find a spot on the knife. This is how I learned how to hold an angle. So find a spot on the knife, make sure it's the same spot. So mark it. Make sure you mark it. That's important. This mark is very important. Don't miss that. So now I can match these 2 lines up just like that, if it'll focus. So I can just match those 2 lines up and set it down and go to town. So now I don't want to put pressure with my thumb because you don't want to grind it into the stone and tear your skin off. So you just want to let it float. Let the edge grind, but don't let your thumb. And just let it kind of float across the top. Now, if you do feel it starting to get too abrasive to your finger, then don't slide your finger across. Just set it there, then lift it up and grind it across. Put it back, set it down. Now, you're going to want to use this just as a crutch for a little bit and then start taking it away. But what this can help you do is set your bevel. You might not want to use it through all your stones, but you can, you know, if you can handle it. But you can at least use it to set your bevel, because then once your bevel's set, you'll get a better feeling of how to hold it. I kicked out Boy Scouts for eating a brownie. It probably wasn't a brownie.
That's why I said, is it really a brownie?
So, still, even though I'm doing this finger trick, I'm locking my wrist. I'm locking my wrist using my elbow. So just my elbow going across, and then when I want to get to the tip, I lift. I'm lifting my elbow.
So the only joint on your arm that you're moving is your shoulder, correct?
My elbow.
Well, you're not moving the joint. I'm saying the only joint on your body that's making any round of motion is just your shoulder.
Yeah, my shoulder and my elbow.
I feel like your elbow looks pretty locked. It moves a little bit. I mean, it
No,
moves,
it
but you're
moves.
not moving the
Oh,
joint.
because I'm moving my shoulder.
The only
right,
joint
I
that's
get what
making
I get what
round
you're
of
saying,
motion is his shoulder.
So that
everything
bevel,
else is locked.
that bevel's already set. So you can see how fast that can happen. Now, I might lower back that angle slightly, but I don't need to. So now I need to go back to this side, and now I already have my finger marked on this side. So now I can do the same exact thing, and now I know the angle is going to be the same because I marked it on my finger from the exact same height as my thumb. So now I know this angle is going to be the exact same, but it's going to be my job to hold it. So lock your wrist, move your elbow or your shoulder to get to the tip. Okay. So, and what I'm saying is because in order to get to the tip right now, all I got to do is lift my elbow. See that? Now, if I drop my elbow, it'll go back down. Lift, drop. So even if I'm at an angle like this, it's the same exact thing. That angle doesn't change. So, yeah.
Lauren is saying, for a non-maniac guy, is there a real need to use 9, then 6, then 2 microns gunny juice, or 9 will do the job just fine?
9 will do the job just fine. Not unless if you're trying to polish it. And I would say just go to 9. So I really like 12 and 6. Like if you have if you're coming off like 600 grit, do a 12, and then you can choose to do 6 or not. Like today, we're just going to use 12 on this one. Unless if you're trying, see, it depends on your purpose, right? Or what you're trying to do. If you're trying to polish it, that's when doing stropping progressions really matter. Now, I'm not saying you can't do a stropping progression. Like say if you come off a 1200 grit, you can do like a 12 and a 9 and a 6 just to refine the edge a little bit. But I prefer my teeth on my apex to be more so from my stone than from my stropping compound. Now, if I'm doing a mirror polished edge and I really want it blinging and I want it like Instagram ready, then yeah, maybe I'll go through some emulsions, but for the most part, and all I do is like, say if I come off of say 5K grit, 5,000 grit, well, then I'll use like a 2 micron, 1 micron, quarter micron, right? You always want to use a micron that's less than the stone you were
doing. Mark is asking Jared, I'm guessing that's Big Brown Bear, mentioned in a video that it's a good idea to learn to sharpen ambidextrously. What do you think about that?
I haven't done that.
That's how I do it.
I know he does that, and my hat goes off to him.
When he does that, is he doing like what I do, where when I go this direction, I do it right-handed, then when I come back towards me, I do it left-handed, or is he literally learning both ways completely?
He does one hand like this, then does the other one like this.
Right. That's how I do it. That's just naturally how I do it. I can't do it all with one hand.
So I'm not good at that. So I do not do that. That is definitely some talent there. And maybe in the future I will learn that. Maybe it might make me even better. But I'm really good at doing it this way. So, and I'm hard pressed to find too many edges that are as good as mine. I'm not saying there's not. I'm not like trying to toot my own horn or anything. I'm just saying, they're at least as good. Very few are better. But even the ones that are, it's so. Once you really, like I said, understand the basics and understand the scratch pattern and everything, if you can hit that goal of making sure your V grind is flat, making sure your scratch pattern goes from the top of the bevel to the apex at an angle, making micro serrations, then that's a perfect edge. Now you just need to understand burr removal. Okay, we are done with this stone. Let's move on to a Veneve. This is probably about 300 grit. We're gonna put some soap and water on this one. I find around 6. Get to Todd's thing. What does that say?
I found around 6 micron will take care of any stropping needs. I haven't tried the 12.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, 6 is really good. That's what I recommend. It's like the most well-rounded because it's over 5,000. It's about right around 4,500 or like 5,000 grit or something like that. But 12 is really good when you're talking about toothy edges. So like if a 600 grit, right? So going off of a 600 grit to like 1 micron or something like that, that's a huge jump. Not saying you can't do it, not saying it doesn't work, but 12 be a little bit more effective. So it just depends on the grit, but 6 micron works good all the way around. You can use it on toothy edges or you can use it on fine edges, but obviously something a little bit more aggressive is going to be more responsive than something less. So a 12 is going to be more effective than a 6 on a toothy edge.
This is actually a good question, and I want to expand on it before you answer it. So Redneck Rider's asking, so about straight edges, do you use the same movement as on one with a belly? Can you quickly demonstrate without actually touching your stone and ruining your knife if there is a difference in movement between different blade shapes?
There is. Of course there is.
Okay, and how vast is the difference?
So with a flat grind, so like with this one, you can see, hopefully, let me grab
it. Here, I'm going to remove the comments so that the screen is bigger.
Actually, I'm going to use this one. Look where you see light behind the knife. So I'm going to always start with the heel of the edge hitting the stone. So say that's hitting. So now you can see there's light underneath the nose. See that? So all I have to do to get to that is barely lift my elbow. So that's all the movement I need is right there. So when I'm down here like this, in order for me to get the tip, I can either raise my elbow a little bit, or two, because this is damn near perfectly straight, and a lot of Wharncliffes are perfectly straight, you just want to make sure you take the edge off of the stone. So this, I'm going to pull and lift my elbow like that. Lift my elbow. With this, I'm just going to go straight back, no moving my elbow, but I'm make sure that the tip or the blade comes off of the stone, letting the tip get all the way to the edge, meaning like this edge right here, because that allows it to get the entirety of the edge. Because if I just go right here like this, I'm not getting the tip. Because remember, you can't see, or you can see there's light under the tip. So obviously, if I drag it back and forth right now, I'm not going to hit it. And with most Wharncliffes, even the most straightest of Wharncliffes, that'll happen. So that's why start with the heel and drag straight back all the way to the tip. Now you can work your way back. All the way back to the tip, just like that. That is the best way to do a Wharncliffe. But yeah, every blade shape is going to be slightly different. But that's kind of the basics, though, is about how much space is underneath the tip. Okay, so
a couple questions really quick. Joe Breno says, how likely is the stone to be perfectly flat?
For diamond plates, it's really good. Like that, you don't have to flatten them. So, and you can't flatten them. So they're as flat as they're going to be. With NEEVES, they're perfectly flat when you first get them. Eventually, you're going to have to reflatten them. But as far as like whetstones and stuff, you're going to have to flatten them pretty often.
And then Lawrence says, I'm interested in getting a gunslinger, but you said you got 1.5 complain about it.
1.5.
Oh,
1.5 complain. Trust me, still get it.
Real big ones. And what about the heat treat for its S90V?
So I'm going to not do an edge retention test, but I am going to sharpen it for the full review that will be up on the 16th. But no, the problems that I have with it are very, very minimal. I would still highly, highly recommend it. And I don't really have any problems. I just have one nitpick, 1.5 nitpicks. But as far as the steel goes, that, the geometry is so amazing on that thing. It's going to stay sharp for a long time regardless. Like just geometry play, does that. And so I'm going to obviously do some cut tests, not a controlled cut test, but I'll do some cutting stuff, and then I'll do some sharpening stuff and see how it feels on the stone, see how it deburrs. But I have a good idea that it's going to do pretty good on the stone because it's so thin that it's just going to sharpen up really quick, and the burr hopefully won't be a problem. That's what I'm going to judge it off of. I'm going to judge it off of the burr. If the burr's hard to remove, then I'm going to guess it's on the softer side. If the burr's really easy to remove and it just pops right off, then I'm going to guess it's on the harder side. Okay, so let's finish this side really quick. Now, if you do this finger trick and one side of the bevel is bigger than the other, right? In many cases, your angle's not off. The grind of the knife is off. That happens so often, it's crazy. Like you would think that, oh, they should be perfectly even. No, they're almost never perfectly even. So you might have to slightly adjust, but you can go off of how much you're going to adjust based on the difference in the edge. So if I do this side, right, and my bevel is a good size and I like that size, and then I go to this side and it's bigger, well, now I know I need to slightly raise my angle. So then I'm going to pay attention to that line and start using the top of it, right? Or if I need to go lower, I'll use the bottom of it. But this line is a good indicator. You can either go dead nuts in the middle of it, on top of it, or below it. That's the one beautiful thing about the marker tip, right? When you do that line, is that little tiny adjustment is a good way to indicate, you know, like how much movement you need to do to correct the difference between, you know, one side from the other. Hopefully that made sense.
Really quick, just so I can say this out loud. Dog, that that knife that you're talking about is definitely the Tactical Everyday Dad one. The knives I had on my neck in that video, 2 of them she already has. The only other 2 I had would have been the Artisan Sea Snake designed by Mike Emler. But I'm gonna assume she was talking about the one with the colors on the handle, which was a Mexican blanket micarta from Tactical Everyday Dad. I don't know if he's doing anything anymore.
Yeah, he is. What do you mean?
I haven't seen a lot. There's
You mean something new?
Well, just the old stuff even. I've seen some for sale on Arizona Custom Knives. He has an Instagram, which is Tactical Everyday Dad. I'm sure you could DM him. I haven't seen any like drops
He might be doing something right now, trying to grow his business or do something, you know, more towards shops or something.
It's weird because I can't even find his website like I used to be able to.
Lauren, thank you for the donation. Kara's going to get to it here in 1 second.
But really quickly, though, that Mexican blanket micarta, there's a lot of variants on it on other knives as well. One version of it she might like is any of the Serape knives from Kaiser.
Those are Mexican blanket G10 though.
Yeah, but I'm just saying though, those are folders.
Still the same. It's very similar.
There's lots of them. They're cute. They come with a cute pouch. But yeah.
And a bead. A Serape bead.
Yeah. Okay. Fine. We got the Lauren with the $11.99 correct.
Thank you, Lauren.
Thanks for your patience answering my questions. Still learning the good ways from A to Z to get sharp knives. Hey, no problem. That is what these lives are for. And the questions keep going.
All right, I'm moving to the next side.
Yeah, you haven't heard of him either lately, Bama? I haven't. He used to do drops kind of frequently. I don't know.
Maybe try to see what he's doing on Instagram.
Yeah, well, he
might be just doing sales because some dealers or some knife makers, they literally are selling so many on Instagram, they don't even have a chance to put any up on their site.
Oh,
so
I'm sorry. If you are talking about the other one I had that came off the magnet, that's not actually a neck knife you can buy. That was just a random knife that someone put on a lanyard for me with a magnet. So if it's a teeny tiny one, then no. But if it's the one with a little bear, the bear logo, that's Tactical Everyday Dad.
You can get yourself a magnet though.
No. He is talking about Tactical Everyday Dad. That is 100% the knife you're referring to with the bear logo because it stands for TED. Yeah, Kyle said TED website is closed. Unfortunately, I don't think you can get those anymore.
Check on Instagram. Talk to him there. So I have a burr.
I'd give it to her, except for that one was a gift, so I can't.
So I have a burr all the way up and down from heel to tip. And now I want to sharpen this side, but I don't want to drag that burr across my stone. So I'm going to just do a reverse swipe, just like stropping, very gently, and I'm just knocking the burr over to the other side. All it's doing is making it to where now I can go across my stone without it gouging into it.
Kyle, do you know why he stopped? Dukes of Hazzard, thank you for the $1.99 bones. What up, thickins? What up, thick?
What up?
What up, thick skin? I would like to see it. Can't find it.
I'm not spending long on this stone. I'm just going to hit this other side really quick because then we're going to go to our last stone for this knife. I could have just jumped right to the 600, but I just figured I'd just do a few swipes on these stones really quick just because they're more aggressive. That's already good right there. So now I'm switching to my 50/40 micron, which is technically coarser than 600 grit, but it's basically 600 grit. You're not going to notice much difference between a 600 grit diamond plate and this. It's because these are a little bit finer than a regular diamond plate, even though they are diamonds still. What's up?
First of all, this matches my outfit as well today. But yeah, no, you're talking about this one right here. I know you are. That's got the bear on it. This Mexican blanket micarta around this time last year became very popular. So if he's not, you can
Get it wet.
He has an Instagram. It's literally Tactical Everyday Dad. You could try DMing him and see what's up. Maybe he has extra stock. He's the one to sell. But if not, what I would do is just look up other custom fixed blade people that make it with Mexican blanket micarta. I'm sure you can get something like really similar. There's nothing particular about this knife that like you probably can't find as well on another
That
knife.
Stropping stuff's pretty nice that you can get from Kaiser. It's not custom.
He did a fantastic job on this, but if you're looking for a neck knife, I know of a lot of people that probably would do it. In fact, maybe talk to that Spalletta Infinity guy. He does fantastic handles. She probably would like the blade shape better. It's that cute little chunky one I showed you.
He also has that that hunting blade shape, which is a spear point, a little spear point like this big. It's really cool.
It's actually kind of more that shape. Yeah, but he does lots of different cool micarta handles and stuff, like really, really cool stuff. But yeah, if there's is there one on NAF sale? That's lucky. Oh, the video. Yeah, it's just way back on Instagram. I would have to scroll pretty far back, but those are the only knives that were on it. I know what you're talking about for sure, though.
All right, so I have a tiny burr now. I'm trying to minimize my burr. So I hit this side, right, until I got a burr. Well, I knocked my burr back, then put my new scratch pattern on this side, and now I have a small burr, not very big. My last stones were a lot bigger. I want to minimize my burr. So I don't want it to be huge when I go to deburr. Now, when you're first starting off, your burr is going to be bigger than you need, which is fine. So however big it needs to be for you to identify it and understand tearing it off, that's fine. But now I'm going to knock the burr back, and I'm going to finish this side. And I just go single swipes. This stone, man, you can really feel the difference in aggression. It's so much finer than the other ones I was using. And that's why I love using it as a finishing stone, because it's not super aggressive. It's relatively fine. Now, I could condition it and make it a little bit more aggressive with an aluminum oxide stone or some silica carbide powder, something like that. And you notice how I'm using my body. I'm rocking. I'm using my elbow and my arm locked into a place, and then I'm just basically using my body to pull the knife. That's another way you can do it, so that there's all different ways to move that blade across the stone. You want to use what's comfortable, whatever works for you to get that fucker across, holding that same angle. This is looking really, really good. I'm going to see how close they match from one side to the other. I have a tiny bit of convexing, not much. It's actually pretty good. And I personally like it, like as far as like between a V grind and a convexed, I like the in between because it adds some toughness to a really sharp edge. I'm going to work on this side just for another few seconds. I'm going to switch over, do the other side one more time, and then we're going to knock that damn burr off. Son.
Got another question from Lauren. Says, do you put gunny juice on your leather each time you strop, or from time to time when you feel it's gone?
No, about once every 10 times. The diamonds last longer than aluminum oxide, so aluminum oxide breaks down. That's why you have to keep reapplying it. With diamonds, the diamonds don't break down. So eventually they do over a long period of time, but you can get a lot of stroppings in just from one application.
Lauren, I get the sense that you are like really genuinely, seriously trying to learn to improve your sharpening. So I have a question for you. When Jared answers these questions for you, do you write down the answers? Because I personally feel like I know, like, when people are new to something, they want really specific answers, like, how many passes do I make till it's done or this or that, right? And there's not specific answers always. But when you get an answer kind of like that, where it's like, roughly once every 10 times, do you write that stuff down? Because I feel like you wind up gaining a lot of information, and I feel like I would forget a lot of the things.
And that's just like, that was just a number of shit out of my
I know
head.
you did,
Like,
but
it doesn't have to be every time.
when
You
you're
can do it
trying to
every
learn
20.
something, you do kind of want like some sort of a guideline that's
Yeah.
specific. Even if you understand that it's not specific,
I would say,
having a ballpark to go off of helps.
I'd say make the layer very thin when you do it, and then replace it like every 7 to 10 times, but very thin layers. Don't put it thick, because it doesn't make sense to make it thick. It literally defeats the purpose, because the abrasive is already through the liquid, right? It's already on the liquid. So once it's covering the entirety of the strop, the abrasive is covering the entirety of the strop. Adding more, you're not doing anything. You're just wasting it. As far as diamonds go, diamond emulsions go.
I guess you can go back and watch the lives. I didn't think about that, dog. Laura, when you're done with the book, Kara wants to buy the publishing rights. That's funny. I'm like, do you take notes on this stuff by chance? No, I just genuinely wondering. Because like when if I'm trying to like learn something and it's like, I kind of guess like for me, I'm sitting here talking, so I forget this is video. And like I forgot you could just rewind. Because to me, I feel like you're just hearing someone say it. You know what I mean? Because I'm not watching a video. I'm just sitting here talking. It's weird how that happens. You just kind of forget this is a video for people.
Yeah, they can always just replay it again.
I feel like I'm just talking directly to you.
All right, so I'm just making sure my scratch pattern's really good. I did notice a little facet, so I just want to get it out. Facet is where my angle changed slightly. So I just want to make sure now that I just set it back down that I do at least about 20 passes to make sure my entire bevel is reset with the angle change. If I slightly change angles.
Aaron got the frag cormorant.
Nice.
I love that knife. You're going to be flicking it and flapping it all over the place.
Okay, so now we need to focus on doing a burr removal. My burr is not very big. I do kind of feel like I should maybe get it a little bit bigger up here at the tip, because I almost don't feel it. I feel it all the way over here. Let me just look at something. I'm gonna do a couple more passes just to ensure that my burr is done at the tip, because I don't feel it. So I'm gonna have to do another 20 passes, but what I'm doing is I'm making sure my tip is grinding into the stone really good. Don't do what I just did there though. Don't let it come off the stone. There we go. There we go. Very nice. Very nice. And as I'm coming across the stone, I am, in this instance, like I can just lift my elbow up to that point and then drop it. But when you get really good, then you can take your wrist and flex it forward. I'll show you what I mean in just 1 second. Basically what I'm talking about is like as you're going across and you get to the tip right there, I flex my wrist just a little tiny bit. Like I'm exaggerating with that movement that I'm showing you with, but you know, when I'm doing it, that's what I'm doing. I'm just going across and flexing it forward just a little tiny bit, just to ensure that I get all the way to the tip, which I did. Looks really, really good. And I got a burr.
What are you trying to say, Mr. Particular? Saying I'm not bragging. I'm really good with my hands. This seems pretty basic. Are you talking about the instruction seems basic? Is that what you mean?
I think he just means that she thinks she can do it. So I'd say do it.
Yeah.
Get some stones, and if you don't already have some, and it's the hardest part is learning how to hold the angle going across, and then also understanding the burr and understanding how to remove it. There's a lot more to it. Like this is just one blade shape. This is one stone. Like there's thousands of different kinds of stones, tons of different blade shapes, tons of different steels, tons of different methods. So there's a lot more to it, but I try to keep it simple to teach the basics, and we can always do pro tips, you know, in the future. So right now I need to do a burr removal. So I have a nice burr. You can hear it.
I can't hear.
So I'm going to do a reverse pass, just like stropping, except for I'm going to try to match my angle as good as possible. No pressure. I'm not using any pressure at all. I'm not even using the entire pressure of the knife. So I'm basically taking pressure off of the knife and I'm just letting it barely snag that surface. Because I'm just letting the teeth of the burr snag the stone and tear off. That's what I'm trying to do. And then once it's flipped to the other side, I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. Now I'm going to do single passes. One. No pressure. No pressure. I can see the burr. You can see pieces of wire. Let me see if you guys can, maybe you guys won't be able to see it, but you can see there's pieces of wire. See the wire right there? Oh, no, it just moved. Anyways, I can see it. So let's see if we can feel it still. I can still feel it a little bit on this side. So sometimes you might want to do a couple forward passes. Again, very, very lightly, no pressure. You're not trying to replace your scratch pattern. You're just trying to hit your, get rid of that burr. That's one problem where people keep bringing the burr back is because they're using pressure. And what they're doing is they're making new burr. So while they're trying to remove the burr, they're making new burr. Now we can move to a strop. There's 99% of the burr is gone. We're going to go to the 12 micron gunny juice. So let me put this on really quick. This is 9, so just replace it with 12. But see how light that was? How light of an application that was? Not very much. I'm going to add just a little tiny drop more. Not much. Because I don't want to waste it. All right. Now, once that dries, which will be any second, we are going to strop. So with the stropping, I'm stropping at the exact same angle I'm sharpening at. No difference, or I'm trying not to make sure it's any different. Now, if you have a poor ability to match your angles exactly, then try to hold it slightly lower. You're not going to do anything wrong by holding it slightly lower, but you will do things wrong by holding it slightly higher.
Lauren, you said I'm improving the stropping phase so I won't post any. I'm not sure what you mean by that, but if you have a question, please ask. That's what we're here for. Regardless
Wow, it's got a lot of bite.
what it is.
Holy cow, it's got a lot of bite. I'm gonna hit just a little bit more on the strap.
Yeah, guys, one thing with these lives is that, you know, it's gonna be, I understand that everybody's kind of at a different level, and each time is going to be maybe something that you might already know or something that you aren't ready for. It's all information, and
when we get over to the desk too, it's going to be a lot better. The visuals, everything's going to be better.
But I just mean the skill level of the content. You know, it's going to be different for everyone, and
yeah,
there's no question that you should save for later or any of that. Like, even if he isn't at the point of like doing the thing you want to ask your question, just ask anyway.
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, just go ahead and ask.
He can verbally answer or maybe break the stuff out. Like, you never know.
You can see how sharp that fucker is. It is very sharp. Lots of teeth. When I take my finger and I go run it against like that, it feels like glass. So I do not feel any burr or any teeth. It feels like wet glass. But when I touch it, it literally just gouges into my skin. Like, you can even see my skin just from just barely tapping it.
Aaron says, when you strop, do you go with the scratch pattern or against it?
against, so you're going the opposite way. So your scratch pattern should be running this direction, like this. So from the top of the bevel to the apex at an angle, like a saw blade, just like serrations. Think about serrations, right? But when you strop, you want to strop going the opposite because you're trying to remove micro metal that's in between the strops and the apex. Or sorry, in between the serrations, the teeth. So like you have like little microscopic metal in between each serration microscopically, and you're trying to tear that off. So you start with the tip and you kind of work your way backwards like this.
Oh, that's
so
nice
you do
time.
kind of like a J and then go down. So see with my elbow how I'm getting the tip. Well, when I go to get the flat part up here, I gotta drop my elbow. See that? Start getting used to those motions. That's going to help you with sharpening, stropping, honing, everything.
Look at Todd's nice
Meaning
comment.
lock and use your elbow. What's up?
Todd left a nice comment.
This is definitely the place to ask sharpening questions. It's a very welcoming stream for beginners or advanced, or too advanced. Thank you, Todd. I appreciate that.
Thanks.
Yes.
Is there water in there?
Yeah.
I'm so thirsty.
So.
Oh, we didn't even drink our coffee.
We are going to. Why don't you pass it to me?
I don't know.
We are going to really quickly hone this edge up.
There's
I already
coffee
tried to
booger
cut
in it.
a piece of paper with it, but just to show you guys how dull it is. Just really quick.
I mean, it's lukewarm, but here.
It is not cutting at all. You guys didn't even see that. Sorry. It's not cutting. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hone it on this ceramic rod very quickly. We're going to see.
Should I go warm it up maybe?
Yeah, sure. We're going to see if we can't tune this up really
Pay
quick.
attention
So
to your
I'm going to show you a trick that I do with the ceramic rod, especially for beginners. Because when you get good, then you can just eyeball it. You can go like this. I'm going to go this way. You can go like this, right? But for a beginner, if you can get this exact rod with the angle finders, now you can buy a ceramic rod separate with the angle guides that slide over the rod, or you can just start with a ceramic rod, no angle guides, but then this is going to be a little bit more tricky. But if you got the ones with the angle guides, you can hold it like this against your chest or against the table like that. And then I'm going to take and slide it down this angle like this. So I'm laying it on the angle. I'm sliding it down right there. And I'm literally letting the side of the knife slide directly against that. So as soon as I go straight down, my edge is hitting the ceramic. So do that. And now I just lightly, hardly no pressure, maybe a tiny bit of pressure on this one because there's a lot of damages. I'm going to do like 3 swipes. Now when I want to do the other side, I go like this, and I go the opposite way. So now I'm doing the same thing, just the opposite way. Just like that. And don't cut yourself. You should be just fine. 3 swipes. Now I'm going to go to the other side and do single passes now. So I'm going to go 1. And this might not even completely fix it because it is so dull, but we're hoping that it's going to. That's a great beginner trick. You know what? This might cut paper now. We'll see in here in 1 second. Now we're going to hit the strap. So we're going to use this strap. Just a couple passes just to clean off any microscopic metal that might be on the edge from the ceramic, because I did use a little bit of pressure. Now, if you're just aligning your edge, you don't want to use any pressure on a ceramic because it will add microscopic teeth. Same piece of paper. Pretty damn good, right? We went from not cutting at all to cutting perfectly. And that is why I recommend a ceramic rod over a metal one. They actually work. So, and you see, how long did that take? 30 seconds? Not even. 20 seconds if I was going faster, you know? So, but we do want to sharpen this, even though that does make it a lot sharper. And it probably, I don't think it could cut paper towel, but it could definitely be close. So we are going to start with the Neve again. I'm gonna move you guys down. We're not going to spend too long on this. This is a 9CR, so it's a relatively soft steel. It's it's a simple steel. It's not a high carbide, high wear resistant steel, which is going to be great for kitchen knives, right? So, but we don't want a super low angle on this. Now, sometimes you do. Sometimes you want to go like 14 degrees per side. With this, it's a little paring knife, and it gets used on like ceramic and stuff like that. So I don't want to. Hey, Dan Cad, thank you for the 20 bones. I have not been on timeout since Q held me in the chair. I'm going through serious timeout withdrawals. Thank you, man. I appreciate the donation. So I'm going to hold my angle a little bit on the higher side because I actually want this edge to be a little tough. Now, that's all dependent on you, right, with that. So you could have a chef knife that you don't care nothing about toughness, right? But if you do, right, then, and depending on the geometry and everything, you might want to do 20 degrees, or you might not care and you might want to do 14 degrees. With this one, because I can feel some micro chipping, from hitting things, I'm going to go just a slight bit tougher. Like 20 degrees isn't like a super high angle, but it's higher than 17. So I'm just going to a relatively decent, not high angle, but just a decent angle, like a nice happy medium angle. An angle that is not high, but it's also not low. Did you get that from Daniel? Yes. Yes, I did.
Here, sip.
Thank you, baby.
Dude, what do I need to approve?
Here.
Let's wait for Kara to approve. I'm sorry, did something get timed out already? What was timed out? The actual chat? Okay, the one Jared already read. Okay.
Now, when I'm trying to find the angle, like regardless of the angle I'm going to use, let's say it doesn't matter, say I just want to be able to sharpen my knife. Get the knife in your hand, right? Get the knife in your hand and just hold it comfortably. Whatever angle is comfortable. Remember that it's not that big of a deal. If you hold it a little bit high, a little bit low, don't pay attention to the exact angle. That's for when you get really, really good. Right now, if you're just learning how to freehand, the biggest thing is just holding it, regardless of the angle. So, and it'll still get sharp. It'll still cut. So get whatever grip is comfortable to you. Like right now, the most comfortable angle for me, I'm just going to set the knife down, is right there. Right? That's exactly where my hand lands, and it's nice and comfortable. I can do it over and over because I can feel that that's my comfortable spot. Right? If I go any higher than that, it's a little uncomfortable. If I go any lower than that, it's not natural. Right? So the natural place for me to go is right there. So that might be the angle you want to start at. And then you can easily lock your wrist a lot easier because it's comfortable. And you can drag it back and forth very easily and hold that angle because it's natural for you and your wrist. Your wrist isn't being held in an abnormal way. So start there. Don't start trying to match a perfectly 20-degree angle or 15. Just start by what's comfortable. That is going to be the best place to start. And you know what? To be honest, a lot of times that's how I do all my edges. Like it's just whatever, when I pick it up, whatever's comfortable, that's where I'm going to be. I'm going to look at my scratch pattern and make sure it starts at the top of the bevel, right? If it starts lower than it, then I might make an adjustment. But I try to do what's comfortable because most likely it's going to be a good angle. And then my fingers right here, no pressure. So it looks like I'm applying pressure. I should have said that right off the bat. No pressure with these fingers. These fingers are just like, it's like an angle indicator. So got my wrist locked, right? This is my comfortable position. It's on the stone, right? That's exactly where it was comfortable before. Now when I touch, I'm letting, like right now I can move the knife and not even See how my fingers just didn't even move? But what I'm doing is I'm moving it with this knife, and it's like kind of just gliding. This is something you got to get used to. It's not going to be easy at first, but this is going to help you because part of my pads and my fingers touching the stone and part of it's touching the blade. So what's happening is I have another indicator to tell me if my angle is the same. I can feel it coming across the stone, feeling that I'm not going up or down with my angle.
Mess your fingers up after a while?
No.
I thought you said part of your fingers touching the stone.
Yeah, it's such a tiny amount. And like I said, I'm not using any pressure.
Oh.
No pressure at all. So I'm just barely, if you look at it from an angle, you can see like I'm kind of touching some of the blades, some of the stone, and I'm letting it just kind of like slide across. So then when I get to here, right, I can feel the tip touch the stone. Even though I'm not pushing it to the stone, I can feel it touching it. So it just makes it to where you can work that angle. And now if I did lift my angle or drop my angle, I can instantly feel it. Instantly feel it. Is there any comments, baby?
Nope. I mean, yeah, but not like for reading out loud right now.
Just let me know.
Kyle says stone burns hurt like an MF.
They can. That's why no pressure at all. And like I said, if you're having troubles with that, then don't use it to drag. Just use it to indicate. So
Seems logical.
use it to
Says, does it help to have calluses when sharpening?
Not if you're, I mean, yeah, I mean, that can go for anything. Anything laborious, calluses help. But, you know, there's going to be calluses you're going to have to grow no matter what. But I would say that, yes, it could if you're wanting to grind your finger across stones. But for the most part, you don't have to do that. What you want to do is just be able to indicate it, just line it up. Then you can take that away and just use this, or just use the pressure from the spine.
Okay.
So just use it as an indicator.
Okay, really quick. Todd, Jared, have you ever tried the sharpening guides that clip onto the knife directly for set angles?
Yes, I have. They work pretty good for chef knives. Nothing else, though. So
Spanky.
chef knives are fine.
Spanky,
Thank you, Spanky.
with the bent bones.
Thanks, Spank.
This is a master class in freehand sharpening. It is amazing what you can learn for free on the internet. Thanks, Jared and Kara. You're welcome. I provide the best sharpening tips online. It's
Aside from this ain't free.
That is facts.
But I do have a lot of free shit, though. Oh, yeah, people are watching it for free.
Yeah, it's just not free
right now.
You
the
pay
next time,
to
though,
control the content by asking the questions. Essentially, that's what the money's good for.
But
for
also,
now,
but also the next one we're going to be over there because, like I said, I'm going to set that computer up over there at the other booth, the sharpening station. Well, we're going to have a lot more equipment. We'll have the microscope there. We'll have everything there where we can really get in depth. I'll have the paper there where I can draw all that good stuff. Here, it's not the best place for sharpening.
But having the ability to control the questions and ask is very paramount to the learning. So it's cool for the people that just watch, just for free, when we do allow people to view the streams without commenting if they're not members. But being able to actually ask the questions is insane. Like think about Laurent, right? Like he's been able to ask questions tailored exactly to what he's wondering, and there's no better time to do it than when it's live. We have Michael Upchurch, member for 13 months. Thanks for the 13 dang months. That is a baker's dozen.
Appreciate it, bud.
Jared, what you think about the titanium cubitus? You don't care what I think? I don't know what that one is. I don't know what it is. Oh, you don't know either? Okay. I don't feel as dumb.
I might if I see it. I do want to say I have a chip in this edge. So that is part of, just chef knives. You'll get micro chipping. So there is a micro chip right there. It probably hits ceramic or bone or something.
Putting out too much.
So I'm trying to minimize it as much as possible.
It's that broad blade one.
What? That's the KU322. I didn't know it was Titus. Okay, so yeah, I love it. I didn't know that they made a titanium version. That's a broad blade. He said they did a titanium version.
Did they?
That's what he said.
I bet that's cool. I actually am very attracted to those super broad blades like that. Was it?
Wasn't it?
Yeah, he did say titanium.
I haven't seen it.
I bet that's cool though.
I have not seen the titanium one.
Is the titanium one contoured? Like the scales, are they contoured or are they just flat like the G10 ones? Because if they're contoured and it still has the same blade, I bet that's cool. Except for, to me, the hole looks too small and too set high for the size and weight of the blade. I hate when they do that. I hate when the leverage point of where you would flick a hole doesn't match the weight and height of a blade. Like, you need the hole a touch lower when the blade is larger to get the leverage to match the weight of the blade itself. And a lot of times, man, you seriously need to pass certain physics of like knife designs through a physicist. I mean, not like a PhD physicist, but somebody that understands leverage and physics, because I cannot tell you the amount of times that I just look at a knife and can understand without even touching it that it's not going to flick well because of simple physics. Me and Q1 Fiend were like freaking out about that.
Yeah, no, I feel the same way. I look at knives all the time and I can tell if they have good action or not. I can also look at them and say, like, how are they going to cut based on the geometry, the ergonomics, all that stuff. Once you've held enough knives and you've cut with enough knives,
so
you
they
just look at
added
them
a
and tell.
fuller. So they probably added a fuller for the reason I was just saying, because I would think, because you need that to be able to have it be functional. Okay, so there's 5 different colors. Titanium 14C28 for 119. That's a good dang deal right there.
Titanium
119 for tie and 14C. Yeah,
that's a really good deal.
Yeah, I that's a great deal. And if there is a slight contour, that's cool too. I hate when they do like flat titanium scales. We got a thing from Chris Jones. Karen, off-topic question. Trying to remember a fragrance he mentioned a while back, right after you talked about the barbershop stuff. It was also not a cologne per se. The barber spray. What's that shit called?
Is that the stuff he's wanting?
Yeah.
Barbershop number 15, number 25.
23.
25.
25.
I got it sitting out there if you want to grab it.
Okay, I'll go look. And then really quick before I walk away.
But that stuff, it's a sweet, it's got a little bit of like a bubblegummy barbershop scent. So it's like a barbershop scent with a sweetness to it, like a sweet bubblegumminess to it. That's what it is.
The knife is also on sale for $94. Yeah, scoop that.
If you want the best sweet fragrance though, like the best of all time sweet fragrance, try 1 Million Lucky. There's also some other really, really good ones I could mention, but that one's right now my all-time favorite sweet gourmand fragrance. Gourmand meaning...
apparently you mentioned a different one right after the barbershop stuff.
That's what I was saying.
That would be hard to remember. Yeah, I don't know.
But yeah, try that 1 Million Lucky. If you want something, if you're looking for something barbershoppy, for as far as cologne goes, can you grab me my you
want me to get it?
Or
just you get it. I'm not gonna be able to figure it out. You on her one night. What are you talking about? Seems logical. Kyle does need to do a Meet the Mod episode, but he refuses. But that is okay. I understand everyone. Not everybody wants to be on camera. I can vibe with that. Chris Jones has the big bottle of Lucky, and you know this, man. We've actually get quite a few messages of people saying how they've purchased like the fragrances from Jared's fragrance thing. So it actually is surprisingly confusing to know who has what. You'd be surprised how many people actually reach out and say that they got this. He has the Lucky.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Awesome.
He was saying you should know that.
I do know that actually.
You do.
So Loam Rojas is this one's a good barbershop cologne. So it does smell. This one has a real barbershop smell though. Like the other one, the one I was just talking about before, the number 25, that is a like I said, a bubblegummy type of smell. Like it feels like I said, it's a sweet fragrance. This is not that. This is just pure barbershop. Like it literally smells like you're walking into a barbershop for the most part. It's really good though. Very masculine. Has a little bit of citrus, probably some woodsy scents in there. A little bit of leather. A good leather fragrance though that has a tiny bit of barbershoppiness to it, but it's mostly leather. Suede is 1 million or sorry, not 1 million. Coach Platinum. All right, so I'm having trouble getting this well, not trouble, but it's just I should have probably started on a little bit coarser of a stone. I didn't realize how big that chip was, but I'm trying to get most of it out. If I get 90% of it out, I'll be happy. Just because I'm going to be resharpening this here, you know, not too long. This one gets used a lot. So it's something that hits plates and hits all kinds of stuff. So it's not that big of a deal. But as far as having a knife and making sure you can hone it back and forth, well, you just seen I just honed it and honed back. But hold on a second. But you want to make sure that your edge starts from a good foundation. That way, after a couple weeks of using it or a week of using it, you can hit the strop, once a week, and then when it gets to a certain point, you can start hitting with the ceramic rod to hone it and realign it and also add new teeth. Go ahead.
Davi85 says, if you're looking for a barbershop type clean cologne, try Jean-Paul Gaultier. Jean-Paul Gaultier Lemel. It's so clean, and I'm actually a barber. I know the scent. Haha. Nice. Okay, that's a fair suggestion. If you're actually a barber, we have to take you on.
That's awesome. Yeah, there's a lot of good barbershop fragrances out there. Like, it's actually a pretty popular fragrance among men because, that scent works good. Like, you can, like, say, I like the thought, like, when you think of jumping in somebody's car, right? So when you jump in somebody's car, that scent that's in their car, right? You want it to be a delightful scent. You want it to be a good scent. Like a barbershop scent would be perfectly fine. A leather scent would be perfectly fine. A woody scent would be perfectly fine. Leather and wood would be perfectly fine. Like you could think of new car scent, the cherry scent, like all these little things. Like when you jump in somebody's car, it feels fresh, clean, and new when you do that. But you get that aroma, whatever fragrance they use or whatever fragrance they use in their car, you can smell it. Now, personally, I don't like say the piney, like the ones that are like from like the air freshener things. But when it's an actual spray, it's because the person smells like that. So now their car smells like that. And if they have a lot of leather in their car and a lot of wood grain and stuff like that, that can add to it. But the barbershop fragrance, it just works really good in a lot of situations. You can pretty much get by with it in just about any situation, especially day to day.
Daniel Cad, Bama Knife Guy, said he was going shopping with his girl. Right. I don't know if he's listening, but
okay. So I'm going to the chip is almost gone, but I'm just gonna leave it and get it out the next time because it's like 90% gone. So I'm just gonna hit it on. Is this the coarser one? Hit it on the stone for one more second, then we're going to switch to a finishing stone.
Did you guys know that Bama Knife Guy and CAD Master have the exact same first and middle name? I won't share what they are.
And birthday.
And birth year.
Birth year,
yeah. Yeah, that was wild. They literally pulled out their IDs. And it's crazy because I knew Bama's real name because he doesn't go by it, but I knew it. And then freaking Daniel Cad, it was just crazy. It's so crazy that it's like identical like that. Full-blown drop chopsticks. Yeah, I know. And when he said it at first, he sounded like he was joking. That was the thing.
What?
I thought Bama was joking for a second, but then I was like, no, he did tell me that was his name last time. Yeah. Daniel Cad isn't named Daniel Cad. His middle name. You were sitting right there, Ryan. You didn't hear? You were right there when it went down. But no, Daniel Cad's government name is CAD Master.
2000.
It is on his ID. I saw it, and that also means that must be Bama's name. CAD Master
2000.
Yes, that's 2000.
Yeah.
Sounds like a machine.
Yeah.
The CAD Master 2000.
You can buy it right now for
their
only
last name is
$19.99.
2000. No, 1985. The CAD Master 1985. Old as shit. Not saying you're old, sorry. Didn't mean it like that. Awkward silence.
I'm just finishing this up so I can get to my deburr because I wanted to make sure I stayed on the aggressive stone a little bit longer to get rid of that chip a little bit more. But if it wasn't for the chip, I would already be done with this stone. There's just one little tiny microchip right there. Not that big of a deal, but it's there. Now, it's not going to affect really anything for this knife and for its purpose. So that is a big factor, what the purpose is for that knife. This knife is kind of a an all-terrain knife in the kitchen where it kind of gets used for a little bit of everything. So it's going to see some abuse, which I love these knives. These VOSTEED, the chef set. We got every single one, and I love them all. They're all good for different purposes.
Is the Work Sharp Precision Adjust Pro still available for $250? I think that's the official thing
the
that
new
they
price.
changed
Yeah,
it
they
to.
changed
It's
it to
not
that.
going back, from what I understand.
As far as I know, too. Yeah. I'm not sure if they're available right now, but I should have a video up on the 18th of the tips and tricks. That's what my goal is. So I have a video that has to go up the tomorrow, a video that has to go up the 16th, and I'll have videos in between there. But what I mean is, like, after the one on, or starting on the 16th, I'm going to put a lot of work into that video, a lot of work into the one on the 18th, and a lot of work into the one on 20th and 22nd. So it should be basically like every other day after the starting on the 16th should be really good quality videos. So hopefully I'm able to do that. I like the thought of, because the more work you put into a video, obviously the longer it's going to take, and possibly the less videos you could do, but the better quality they're going to be. And I like the thought of doing that. I like the thought of putting a little bit of extra work into it, maybe not doing as many videos, but videos that everybody wants to watch and see. If you guys got any really good video topic ideas, let me know. I'm not saying I'm going to do them, but if there's something really good, I might take it. All right, let's deburr. So same thing again, right? So I have a burr on this side. I want to gently, no pressure, basically strop it on the stone. This is a good way to say it. Strop it on the stone. You're not using any pressure. You're just knocking the burr back and forth until it snaps off. This steel is 58 to 60 HRC, which is relatively hard. It's not as hard as a lot of my steels, especially for a kitchen knife, that's just fine. And it's pretty much already gone. Oh, we got a little bit left. A back and forth motion can help too. Remember, no pressure at all.
Chris John with 2 bones says he didn't actually give 2 bones. That's just his name now in my head. I just want to see you sharpen an extreme tanto like a BT fighter or something similar. Yeah, I think people want to see.
Well, I said we're gonna tune this up here in 1 second. We got something extreme coming right now. As soon as we're done with this, we're doing some extreme. We're not going to fully sharpen it, but we are going to go through some of the steps that'll be the same as sharpening it, but we're just going to tune it up a little bit.
I remember the thing that always made me feel like I was starting to get older was when you walked into gas stations and they would have the new youngest year for what you had to be to buy cigarettes and alcohol or alcohol. When they would do that, they'd be like the birth year, like nobody before X year can buy cigarettes. Do you remember when they would do that? And I remember when it started hitting the 2000s and I was like, wow, that's weird. Like, that's so crazy. Okay, this is a trivia question for Q and Fiend, but I'm going to read it anyway. Hey, Fiend, trivia question for you. What model of Toyota trucks are popularly used by militias in the Middle East to wage jihad wars and overthrow corrupt dictators?
Can I talk about this really quick?
No, you can only talk about Toyota trucks for throwing over jihad wars.
So when you have a softer steel, right? A softer steel, lower quality steels. So I don't mean lower quality as in bad. I just mean like there's obviously a range of different steels, right? say something more on this more simple side, and say more on the softer side. You're probably going to have to strop it a little bit more, and you're going to have to work the burr a little bit more. The burr is softer, so kind of like think about a paper clip, right? A paper clip is soft, so you can bend it back and forth before it'll snap, right? If you take a paper clip, stretch it out, and you bend it back and forth to get it to break, it's going to take a bunch of bends. If that same paper clip was super hard, you would just bend it and it would just snap, right? Same concept. When the steel's softer, it's going to bend back and forth a little bit more before it pops off. And because it pops off so aggressively and it doesn't just snap off like something really hard, it's going to leave little microscopic burrs that you want to clean off with the strop. So you probably have to do a little bit more stropping with it than you would with something that's on the harder side. Something that's on the harder side, the burr will snap off easier. And that's why, a hard steel is easier to sharpen than a soft steel every day of the week. Like a lot easier. Like you'd be surprised at how much easier it is to hold your angle because the stone bites into the steel so much cleaner, and it makes such a better bevel, and it's easier to hold that bevel flat because other steels that are softer, it's almost like the steel's being pushed back and forth. So then it's harder to hold that angle perfectly. It's kind of like thinking about say taking a razor blade and cutting through a piece of wood, or cutting through Play-Doh. Like you're gonna be able to have like a sharper angle on something like wood, where you can chisel it right through at an angle and leave a nice sharp corner. But Play-Doh isn't going to leave a nice sharp corner. It's most likely going to be a round fucked up corner. All right, so now we are going to in-hand sharpening. So this is a completely different method we're going to do. We're going to have to raise you guys up a little bit for this one, so you guys can look at my jaw. See my jaw? So we have these Venive stones. These are 1/2 inch wide stones. You can get them. I'm just sure I have some linked down in the Neeves Knives store. These are perfect for recurves. So we are going to get them wet, and I'm going to hold them in hand. So let me move you guys down just a little bit lower.
Spanky says soft steels like sharpening Play-Doh.
Yes, exactly.
I will be right back. I just got to use the
So
restroom.
you see, I just got it wet. Now the reason why I'm using this is because this blade has a recurve. You see the recurve? So we have a recurve tanto. Like I said, we're not sharpening this. We're just tuning it up a little bit. And I could do this. I would do it the same way. And if I was going to freehand it, I would do it the same way. So I would hold this stone in hand, find my angle. And because this is a 1/2 inch, it can actually do the recurve. And I'm going to move a little bit of both. I'm moving my hand, this hand, like this. And I'm kind of just holding the blade there in place, and more just moving the stone. Helps you hold the angle. Now you can move the knife, but this is a good way to convex. And the way I teach convexing, if you're going to convex an edge, is to move both. Because while you're moving this and moving this, you try to hold your angle perfectly, but it's impossible. So what happens is the result is a convex edge. Like I said, I don't want to remove too much. I'm just trying to tune it up. Oh yeah, that's already done. Go to the other side. Now look at this angle. See how I start at the heel and I work my way to the tip. This way. Let's look at the scratch pattern. Looking good. Oh, yeah. Already good. All right. Now we're going to get the nose. These are pretty coarse because they Like my big plates are used constantly. These ones are used, but not constantly. So I'm not trying to do too much here. I'm just trying to barely replace the scratch pattern a little bit, just to freshen up the edge a little bit. I don't want to reprofile it or anything. Now, this is not going to make my edge retention last for a super long time, but it'll make the edge sharper. And there's a couple microchips in the nose of this thing that eventually I'll have to get out. I'm just not getting it out now. Cool. What's wrong, baby?
Nothing. I would go to the bathroom.
All right. A little bit longer. Very good. Okay, now let's get this other side. Same thing. And because that is a little bit of a belly, right, I have to make sure I hit the closest part right here first. And then as I'm coming across the stone, I'm lifting my elbow, so to speak. I'm just kind of going like this because I have to get the whole belly, right? When I do it in reverse, it's just the opposite. Now you can push it like this and kind of just move your hand a little bit if you want, whatever it takes to kind of hold that. But you do have to kind of dance around a little bit with your wrist or with your elbow to hit the whole bevel. And that's why these can be a little more difficult for people to sharpen, at least freehand. If you were doing it with a fixed angled system, it's going to hold it for you. But as far as freehand goes, it's going to be a little bit tougher. All right. So now let's get to the next stone. So like I said, I'm not trying to completely resharpen this. So I'll probably use this one or the next one as a finishing. I'm not trying to replace the whole scratch pattern. I was just trying to fix the apex a little bit, tune it up slightly.
Jared, do you remember if the Wii Nefarious at Blade Show was good reverse flicker with the deployment hole?
The Nefarious was the one with the you look it up really quick. I think that's the one with the buoy blade, right? Am I correct, or was it? I think that was the one that I really liked.
There were so many, I can't remember.
But there was two particular ones that I really, really liked. I thought one of them was the Nefarious.
Was it one of these?
Yes. No, it was really good. Really, really good. It was the best reverse flicker of the bunch.
Jared, have you made a video on flattening stones?
I'm sure I've definitely flattened in lives and stuff, but I'm not sure if you'll be able to find one exactly. But I use silicon carbide powder for the most part. I do have regular flattening stones, but getting silicon carbide powder and just getting a sheet of glass is the best way to do it. That's usually the way I teach. That way you can it does it so much faster, and you can guarantee it's going to be nice and flat. Flattening stones warp and they wear out. The silicon carbide powder, you just replace it, and it's affordable. So that's what I recommend getting. Don't even get a flattening stone. I mean, get a Nagura stone for like cleaning off your stones and just reconditioning them. But there's a difference between conditioning your stone and flattening your stone. Flattening your stone means you're warped. Your stones are warped and you need to reflatten it. Now, in the same process, you're going to be resurfacing the entire stone, which the silicon carbide powder does for you. I get 60 grit, right around 60 grit. You can get 60 grit and then a finer grit if you want. I find 60 grit works really good for most things, but you can get like a 60 grit and a 200 grit, or just get 60 grit. Nice and aggressive. It'll flatten really fast.
I love restaurants that have bread that you dip in olive oil. I used to have one of those around me that was good, and then they closed it.
Yeah?
Yeah.
You loved it?
I did.
Okay. So I'm just going to use this last one as a little bit of a finishing stone because it is a little bit finer. I'm not going to spend much time. Hopefully this thing will cut paper after this, because it definitely wouldn't cut paper before. It was pretty wore out. Now, we did not reprofile it or anything. We just basically refined the apex a little bit. See how I'm moving my hand, or the hand with the stone? I'm not even moving the knife. It looks like I'm moving the knife, but I'm not. I'm just going like this. Maybe a little slight bit, but not much.
Sid says if you use a lot of normal whetstones, the Atoma 140 with the handle is amazing for flattening.
Say that again. Yeah, but that's what it's for. Technically, the Atoma's 140s. But like I was saying, though, like to me, I don't want to wear my diamond plates out. My diamond plates are expensive, right? Silicon carbide powder is affordable. You can fucking get a bag of silicon carbide powder really cheap, and you can flatten tons of stones. With the diamond plate, they're like 60, 70 bucks. I want to use that for sharpening. I don't want to, I mean, not saying that, you might want to, once in a while use a diamond plate, but usually I just use the silicon carbide powder. I don't want to wear my diamond plates out like that. They also have aluminum oxide stones that are pretty good for flattening, but they warp, they wear out. The diamond plates won't warp, but they'll wear out.
Oops, I'm sorry, I'm into that. Free ball.
All right, so let me just refine this nose a little bit, and then we'll knock this burr off completely. All right. I'm just making sure there's no burr on here. Knocking the burr off. So when you're doing a recurve, you should get little strops, but you can use the corner if you want right here, especially if there's an abrasive on there. That's usually what I do. Just use the corner. But you can also get little tiny strops or get something like this. This works good too. Let me put some diamonds on here. I know I have aluminum oxide on here, so. I know. What the heck? I know this thing's full. Let me do the 6. I got another 12 I can use. There we go. There we go. All right. Let that soak in for a second. This is 154 cm. Again, probably 68 to, or 58 to 60. 68. 58 to 60 HRC. That's usually what 154 cm is at. Very similar to like S35. There we go. Doubt this thing will even cut paper, but maybe. Let's see. Like I said before, it absolutely would not. It was way too dull. Not too bad. Not too shabby. Let's see if we can get it to go through the tip. Yes, we can. Very, very nice.
Daniel says you can quickly resurface a stone on a belt sander with a fine grit carbide belt. You ever do that?
No. Nope, because I want my stones to be so flat. So whatever I use, I want to be a perfectly flat surface. So I use like I said, silicon carbide powder with a sheet of glass. The glass is the flat part. The carbide powder is the abrasive. You can use Atomas and stuff, like I was saying, but I just don't like using them because they're so expensive. And silicon carbide powder is cheap. You just need a sheet of glass. It's the best way. And once you do it with silicon carbide powder, you probably will never go back to anything else. It works so fast and it's so aggressive. And you know, you just basically sprinkle powder on there, take a cap full of water, and then you just roll it around, rub it around on the surface like this.
Todd says the little work sharpeners are handy to have, and he has 3 sizes.
Aren't these things? Yes, they are. These things are so handy. I use them for everything.
3 sizes.
Sizes? Well, they have the bench stone, this, and then they have the little tiny pocket one.
Oh.
But yeah, no, these things are awesome, man. I love them. Oh, I pushed the button. But what's cool about these is they have the angle guides, and these are in the store as well from Worksharp. But you see they have the angle guide already built in. So now I just need to drag it across. Same with this side. Angle guide's already built in.
Do you sell these stones on your website?
So they're not mine, but yes, they are on my Neeves in the Neeves Knives store. They're not my stones.
On Amazon.
So if you go to my Neeves Knives store, you'll find them. These are very expensive. So right now, I don't think they have any of these in stock, but they do have these ones. It's the same type of stone. It's just this is thinner.
Can one of the mods link the Amazon store, please?
The big stones are Dragon series, and they are very, very expensive. So what I would recommend is don't get the Veneves, unless if you're going to get them for a fixed angled system. In that case, get the Veneves. But if you're going to get bench stones, get the Atomas. Get the Atomas, get the 140, the 400, the 1200, and then or get ultra sharps. The ultra sharps are more affordable. They're not as aggressive and they don't last as long, but they are a lot more affordable. So ultra sharp diamond plates. If you go to my store, I have a ton of different groups of them. You can get 1 plate, 3 plates. There's different batches. Like you can get 3 plates in one, 2 plates in one, meaning like 2 different separate plates in one order, or you can get just 1 plate. So that's why I love ultra sharp, because there's so many different batches of like ways to buy them. Atomas, you can only get them singly. You can get 1 stone or 1 plate, but you can replace it. There's a thin layer you can rip off and reapply. So so that's why I recommend those the most. Or as far as Veneves go, man, they're just super expensive. This is like $180 for just this one. Like not even for all 3, just one.
Oh.
So they're very, very expensive, but they last forever, damn near forever. So it's like having one of these. This will last, you know, I don't know, a couple of years. This will last 20 years.
Is the actual quality better, or is it just the fact that it's more durable?
It's more durable and lasts longer. And it also allows you to get up to super fine grits. Like this is a 5K grit. So you're never really going to find, the most you'll find is like up to like 2K. And even then, the problem with a diamond plate that's at 2K or higher is that it wears out immediately. It's you use it a couple times and it wears out because the diamonds are so tiny on the surface, they just rip off. With a resin, though, it's bonded in the resin. So you can resurface this and bring the diamonds back out. You got 2 millimeter thick resin. So like these I've had for a couple of years and they look like they're damn near brand new if I reflect or if I resurfaced them. So that's why they're worth the money. And they have a larger amount of diamond in them. That's another thing. So, because it's throughout the entire resin, it's not just on the surface.
Sid said, I just don't have much space, so I use the Atoma with the handle for flattening regular aluminum oxide stones. The Atoma is relatively affordable, and the replacement sheets are, well, different denomination of money.
About $70, 65.
About almost half as much as the actual thing.
Yeah, I mean, you got to use what works good for you. I mean, I'm not talking shit, and I'm not trying to talk you out of doing it like that. That's a perfectly fine way to do it. If that's what works for you and that's what works with your system, do it, man, because you're doing the same thing I'm doing. The only difference is you're using the plate, I'm using silicon carbide powder, but the concept is still the same, and the abrasive difference doesn't make a difference. The only thing you never want to do is you never want to use diamonds to clean diamonds, or like like you want to use a harder abrasive, right? So if you're cleaning aluminum oxide, whatever's harder, whether it's diamond or silicon carbide, something like that. If it's a diamond, you don't want to use something harder. You want to use something softer, like aluminum oxide or silicon carbide powder, something like that, because that will allow the resin to get removed, but not the diamonds. Because the diamonds, you don't want to, you're not sharpening diamonds. You don't want to remove the diamonds. You want the diamonds to stay inside the resin. What you're trying to do is when you scrub it, you're trying to tear the resin from around the diamonds to expose the diamonds. Because after you've, like, say these are the diamonds, my fingertips are the diamonds. After you've sharpened on them, a few dozen times, the diamonds are underneath the surface of the resin. So then you scrub this resin off until the diamonds are exposed again. And that's what you're doing with these. Now, as far as like aluminum oxide goes, you're just trying to flatten them. You're just trying to make sure they're flat, trying to make sure the abrasive is equal across the surface, and that there's no flat spots, or sorry, not flat spots, no pits or anything like that. VOSTEEDs are fired. They are badass. I wish that they were able to produce more constantly because they come from Russia, which I don't think that's the issue. I think it's just their, I don't know. They sell probably a lot on their site, but I hope they do get batches in and then send them to Gritomatic. Gritomatic loads them up, every couple months, but they sell out pretty quick. So keep an eye out. And like I said, these ones, man, I recommend everybody get these. I don't care if you're a freehander, if you have a fixed angle system, get the half-inch stones, because one, these things will last you forever, right? So you won't have to replace them. You can go from a coarse reprofiling stone all the way up to a mirror polish, right? So this is 6 stones, not 3. It's 3 double-sided, so it's 6 stones. And you can use them for recurves. You can use them for so many different things. They're magical.
Yeah, everybody I ever run into always says good things about VOSTEED. I've never heard
Yes,
anybody
they are.
complain about them.
Yeah, they are much less expensive. I was lucky got my VOSTEED stones before the prices went crazy. Yeah, they did. They have went up for sure. Yeah, dragons are $230 now. Okay, so now they're $230 a piece. when I got them, they were $180. So yeah, the prices go up, and that sucks. I love Atoma economy series and the replacement sheets. They are the best quality. That's what I have too, and I what I do is I bought an extra sheet and I put it on the other side. So this is a 140 double-sided. So both sides are 140. I just bought a new 140 so that I have a brand new one on one side, and then I have my old one on the other side. And then my other ones, I obviously can replace too. I also like DMT extra coarse at 120 micron and extra coarse, but the large DMT costs a lot more. Yeah, that's why I like the ultra sharps. So the ultra sharps are much more affordable. They start at 300 grit. That's the one issue. That's why I always recommend an Atoma. If you can get an Atoma 140, you can do the rest in ultra sharp, because then you have a 3, 6, and a 12, which is all you need. So you have a 140, a 300, 600, and a 1200. That's all you really need. Then from there, if you want a polishing stone, you can get a VOSTEED. You can get a ceramic, wherever the fuck my ceramic is. You can get a ceramic plate. Which will get you to a mirror polish.
Your rod?
Or you can, which I don't mean get a rod, get a plate. Get a plate, because if you have stones already, then you just set the plate down and finish on it. Or you can go to stropping compounds.
Sid or first redneck says Lansky stone with 2 grits, and I'm kind of overwhelmed already.
Lansky. So if you have the Lanskys, you want to make sure you have diamonds. Don't use the aluminum oxide stones. They work like shit and it'll take you forever. They're just too small. The stones are too small to do any set of damage. So you want to get the extra coarse diamond plate, the coarse diamond plate, and then the medium diamond plate. If you get those, you'll do pretty well. That will help you cut your bevel in nice and quickly, at least as far as that system goes. Now, it's going to still take longer than other systems because the stones are smaller. The smaller the stones are, the longer it's going to take for any system. That's the way it works. So with Lanskys, they have the smallest stones. They're only 4 inches, a half-inch wide. That's small. So, that's why you want to get the most aggressive stones you can get for that system, which is diamonds.
Sid says one of the reasons I use Atoma, DMT, and VOSTEED is because that's available here in Norway. If I would buy the cheap plates, they would cost the same with import and tax.
Yeah, you might as well buy the better ones for sure.
Yeah.
No, that's and plus, Sid, you got the best stones anyways. Why would you
Yeah.
want? Why would you want to downgrade? Right? Because
Right.
Atomas are better than the ultra sharps. DMTs are basically the same as ultra sharps, so you know it doesn't matter. It's just whichever one's more affordable.
Spanky says Lansky stones are so small it takes infinity. I know, like, I feel like a lot of people start there though.
That's why you want the diamonds. One, if you get the aluminum oxide stones, you are going to be there forever. If you get diamonds, it'll cut the time in half.
What reference is that? Forever. Who can get it first? What movie? Name that movie quote. It's just one word. Forever.
Stone flattening ain't a process for me.
Meaning because you just don't do it, or
if you're using diamond plates, you don't need to do it. So stone flattening is only for stones that wear or stones that dish.
Older
so
movie seems logical.
So like wet stones, aluminum oxide stones, oil stones, India stones, Arkansas stones, natural stones, all those eventually need to be flattened. Some of them will last forever without flattening. Just depends on the grit. The softer it is, the more likely it's going to dish. The harder it is, the less likely it's going to dish. That's why these are super duper hard, right? But if you use them enough, like over like 2 years, you're fucking going to need to eventually flatten them. But one thing you are going to have to do with them regularly, like once every few months, is condition them. Well, you should condition them between sharpenings, but if you get the silicon carbide powder, you can recondition the entire thing so it's like a brand new stone again. Because like I said, the diamonds go underneath the surface of the resin. You want to make sure those diamonds are exposed. You guys didn't even get the move. Oh, Sandlot. Okay, somebody got it. Holy shit. The land before time.
I always loved the part where they got the chewing tobacco in Sandlot and then they got on the carnival ride. You know what I'm talking about?
They got sick.
And they throw it in their.
They got sick.
They get sick. Yeah, and they throw up. I always thought that was so funny.
I remember first time I tried tobacco, I was a kid and I kind of got a little sick too. Because you swallow it. That's why.
I remember they had that gum at baseball games that was like tobacco.
Big league.
It like came in the bag like chewing tobacco.
What about Spyderco Sharp Maker? Is it good? Yes, but it's not good for sharpening. It's good for honing. So that's going to be good for edge maintenance. So, but that's why I recommend getting one of these, because you can just get this. If you got one of these and a diamond rod, you can do everything that thing's going to do for you. Because all it is ceramic rods, and I think they might have some diamond plates too, but it's mostly ceramic rods, if not all ceramic. And you're just honing on it. You're not really sharpening. Yes, it makes your edge sharper, but it's doing it in the process of honing. So it's not reprofiling or adding, it's adding new microscopic teeth, just like this does, to your apex while also realigning your edge. So if your edge is like kind of like warped like this, it's realigning it, right? So if it's all warped like this, it's realigning it, and it's adding new microscopic teeth to the apex. That's the same thing this does, except for this is, which those you could do too. You can use them for multi-purpose, lots of different things. Like you can use this as a finishing stone. You can use it as a micro beveler. You can use it to hone. You can use it to realign your edge. You can use it to add microscopic teeth to your edge. You can use it to poke people. You know, a lot of things to do with it. I had a girl on my college staff who I nicknamed Smalls for that reason.
Yeah, I used to always get the "You're killing me, Smalls" quote.
Yeah. But no, I definitely highly recommend a ceramic rod. So if not the sharp, because the Spyderco Sharp Maker, you know, compared to this price, you know, this is $30. You can get them for 20, but you know, the ones with the angle guides already attached are 30. It's hard to fucking beat. Because the Sharp Maker, I don't know how much money that is, but you're getting the same thing. But like I said, get a diamond rod for $20 and get a ceramic rod for 20, 30 bucks. You're set. Like you could sharpen all your kitchen knives just like that.
Redneck, you got ripped off because you got the aluminum oxide Lansky stones. Is that why?
Yep.
At least they are cheap. You're right.
Yeah, like $50 for the whole thing.
Is there any
Make sure you get a base too. You want a
steel
base
that exists that could sharpen on those in a reasonable time?
It's not. It's the stones are too small. But yeah, I mean, any
If the knife was small, what kind of steel?
Any simple steel, HCR, if it's thin.
What
But
about like 440C?
I'm trying to finish. It's about the geometry though. The thickness is going to be the biggest factor. So if it doesn't matter what steel it is, the thicker it is, the harder it's going to be to sharpen. The thinner it is, the easier. The softer the steel, HCR is going to be better than, say, you know, fucking S35VN. But diamonds are always going to go faster. What brand is that, Roger? This one's Work Sharp. It's in my store down in the description. Go to, yeah, we just linked it in the description, or it's in the description right now. Just go to the description, go to Neeves Knife Store. You'll see it in my maintenance department.
Maintenance department.
Isn't it?
No,
The edge maintenance?
I can tell. It might say that.
Something like that.
Let me tell you.
It's a Work Sharp ceramic rod. Yes. There's different there's other ceramic rods in the store. This is the best one that I recommend.
Knife
though.
and edge maintenance.
Knife and edge maintenance in the store. Go to the store, go to knife and edge maintenance.
Just
you'll find it.
Scroll down a little bit. Or wait.
Thanks,
yeah,
thanks, Kyle. I appreciate it.
Towards the bottom.
What does that say? You can do kebabs on them. Fried shrimp, boiled shrimp, shrimp sandwiches, shrimp gumbo, boiled shrimp. It has a slash in it, the category. Yes. We all got ripped off on some stones before. Yes, we have. I know I have, because I've bought like some of those, like, and I've done it on purpose kind of to see how good they are, but like the Home Depot $10 stones, I've bought those, which I've never used. I've used them to like condition my veneers, like where I've used them to clean them, but I've never used it to resharpen again, aside from the video I did on them, because I have so many other better stones. When you have better stones, you're going to use them. You know, the cheaper the stone, most likely the faster it's going to wear out, the faster it's going to dish, the least amount of good abrasive it has. Like there's a reason why things cost more, right? They're just better. Now, there is a limit, though, where it's like, no, you don't need to buy these, right? Because, like, there are some stones that are very expensive that I've used. Like, I got some Nanowa super stones that I'll probably never use again. I don't even like them. They are a mess. They're frustrating to use. They gouge easily. They're very expensive, and it's one of my regrets. Like, I don't even know why I bought them. I bought them because I thought they were going to be really good. And somebody warned me, Jeff Jewell warned me against them after I'd already purchased them. It is what it is, but I'll never use them when I have other stones. Even natural stones like king stones, I'll use before those. Like that would be what I'd recommend. If you want a wet stone or you want a natural stone, get kings. Japanese made stones are really, really good. King stones are good. So I like the ruby stones. The ruby stones aren't a problem for me. There's just a finishing stone. It's kind of like using a ceramic. You're going to use it the same way. You're not going to sharpen on it. You're going to finish on it, hone on it, things like that. But I like the ruby stones. I have a couple of them. I tried to pick up a big ass one, and every time I ordered it, they refunded me my money because they sold out of them or whatever. But yeah, I don't mind the rubies. They're 3K grit, so they're 3,000 grit. So you got to think, you never want to use them until you're over 1,500 grit, 2,000 grit. Now it's going to give you almost a mirror polish. It's somewhat of a cloudy polish, but it does make your knives really, really sharp. But they're cheap. They're very, very cheap and affordable.
It's a Shapton.
Shapton Pro. Yep, Shapton Pros. I think they use ceramic. So many cheap sharpening stones on Amazon. A whole set of double-sided bench stones for $20.
Yeah, there's a lot.
Be careful with those. Be careful with those.
There's Amazon in general. You need to be careful with these days. There was a point in time where the stuff they sold on there was relatively reputable, but now there's so much like potential drop shipping or random brands like Q1 Fiend was teaching me about, because I got ripped off on a hard drive. Luckily, I was able to return it, but like where they will sell hard drives on there or just any various product, right? And they'll sell a legitimate product until they get a 5-star rating and the Amazon Choice label on them so that it looks really trustworthy, right? Because if you're going through a product that you're not sure of the brand on, you're gonna go for that one that says Amazon Choice with the good rating, right? And they'll do it until that point, and then at that point, they'll change the product out for something fake. So, for instance, this was a hard drive with like a lot of terabytes on it, and so what they did is they switched it out for just some blank freaking plastic cube with maybe a USB drive like hidden in it, so it would still plug into the computer. It would fake read the amount of terabytes, and it was completely BS, unusable crap. And yep, that's what they did.
Kyle, I've
And,
never
yep.
even seen the 80 to 120 grit ruby. The only one I can think of is the 3K ruby, because the ruby stone is an actual, like, it's basically it's an aluminum oxide or something, or some type of resin with rubies in it. Anyways,
John Blackman wants to know how you hold the rod.
Hold on one second. But I will say, as far as Amazon goes, it's perfectly fine to buy any stones off of Amazon. Amazon's probably the best place for you to buy stones, in all honesty. But make sure it's coming from a reputable store. Gritomatic, knife sharpening supplies.com, things like that. Like, if it's just some weird fucking place and it's super cheap,
and their name is a bunch of letters and not a real name,
right? But Gritomatic, I have linked in my Amazon store. That place is fantastic. That's where I get most of my sharpening supplies. You might pay a little bit more, but you're getting good shit. Same thing with sharpeningsupplies.com. And there's a couple other places like, Work Sharp on Amazon. Fantastic. That's a good place to get shit. What was the question now?
How do you hold your rod? Do you hold it vertically when you use it?
Depends on what you're trying to do. So with this one, it has the angle guide. So I will hold it. It depends. So, like, you can hold it just straight up and down like this and go just like this. Or, like I like to do, I like to hold it like this so I can feel, so I can hold it, because I'm used to sharpening like this. So my body's just used to it. So I can go like this. Then I can flip it around and do it the opposite way. This is a great beginner way to do it, because it's easier to hold an angle pushing and pulling than it is sliding down. Your body's not naturally used to going like this, but you can do it like that. You definitely can. You just got to be used to holding that angle all the way. But make sure you're using this thing. So make sure you're flat on that surface and it follows it all the way down to the stone. Like that. But whatever it takes, you just want to be able to hold it. So whatever's comfortable for you, and so that you can slide that angle across without it moving, without adjusting the angle. Whatever the angle gives you, that's the angle you should use. Now, you can get different angle guides, not for this one, but for other ceramic rods, the ceramic rods that don't come with an angle guide. Actually, this one too, you could just slide a new angle guide over and use a different angle guide. There are tons of them online. I have them in my store too.
I didn't know there was no Amazon in Norway.
Huh. No wonder why Norway sucks.
Hey, Sid's from there.
Well, he thinks it sucks too. I'm just joking. I've never been to Norway. The corset grit ain't feel like coarse at all.
For what?
Probably for the aluminum oxides. Yeah, that's or for the Lansky stones, which are aluminum oxides. Yeah, it's there are some stones that are coarse or extra coarse that might not feel quite like it. It's just the way the steel, it grits into the steel. If that same stone was in a big stone, it'd be completely different. It's the fact that you're using a tiny, tiny little stone.
Do you remember when we had the people trying to get you to test out like the stones, and it was a random company from Amazon, and like the lady like had the saying of like coarse and fine backwards, like she was explaining backwards.
But that was a lady's video she did or something.
That's what I mean, like the ad on the stone itself, they had it wrong.
There is a girl in the teaching video on Amazon for that stone. It looks like she's gonna cut her hand off.
That's who I was just talking about. Were you the one that sent that to us, Chris?
Probably.
Somebody sent it to us. I think it might have been
Chris Bones.
Chris Bones. Yeah, you're just Chris Bones.
Chris
now.
Bones.
That is actually so much easier. We'll just
cut the Jones out.
Yeah.
I'm planning on getting a Spyderco Shaman. Great knife. I love the Shaman. I think the Shaman is a fantastic knife.
Yeah.
So we've got a lot of bite now, man. We sharpened this thing up really nice today, ladies and gents. Really nice. My scratch pattern is nice and consistent from the top of the bevel to the apex, all running at a nice angle. The edge bevel is relatively flat, slight convex, but that's the way I like it. I could have made it perfectly flat, but I think that this would be even better. Very, very little facets. It looks really, really good. And when you guys are doing it, when you guys are sharpening and you guys are learning sharpening, you're trying to get perfection, right? But you're not willing to get perfection at the risk of ruining your knife or at the risk of over sharpening. So if you see little facets, right? But the edge is like 90% there, 80% there, and it's sharp and it feels good, leave it, man. Leave it. Because you can always resharpen it again in the future. You got 80%, right? You're damn near there. Right. And through the process of sharpening more and more and more and more, you'll eventually get to 100%. But if you never do, if you never get to 100% and you only ever get to 85 to 90%, there's nothing wrong with that. You have a sharper edge than 99.999% of the population. I'm not exaggerating. That's a fact. So it's not that big of a deal if you have little facets here and there, right? Or if maybe your angle slightly off from one side to the other, or maybe your scratch pattern isn't like 100% perfectly consistent. If you, like I said, 90%, if you can get 80 to 90%, you're in the clear, you're good. And then you can work on that extra 10, 20% on making it perfect. But in some cases, it's very difficult to get perfection. And the reason why is because of the grind. The grind plays a huge part in how your edge is going to turn out. Because if this side is thicker than this side, then this side is going to have a smaller bevel than this side with the same exact angle. It's just how, it's just the way geometry goes. So you have to be able to compensate for that. And sometimes the tip will be ground weird, right, on one side and not the other. So the one side will look like a perfect tip and the other side looks wonky. It's not even your fault. That's just the grind. Like, and sometimes there's pits in the grind. A pit means it's kind of like a pothole in the grind. And to get that out is near impossible. It is impossible.
You
without
have to go through so much steel.
you have to remove,
to
like,
flatten it.
yeah. And there's been times where, like, I felt really bad because somebody will send me a really expensive knife, like a custom,
And they
and
want
it'll
that.
have a pit in the tip, and there's nothing
Ooh.
I can do. I can't. The only way I can get rid of it is if I literally regrind the knife, and it looks like shit, but it just, it's just a part of sharpening. Sometimes freehanding can definitely get it out. The hardest part is trying to get pits out with fixed angled, but with freehand, it could even be a bitch too if your angle's perfect. But yeah. And sharpen it before you start playing. You have an issue when you take a knife out of the box and sharpen it before you start to play with it. Yeah. I usually am pretty okay with factory edges at first. I'll use them until they're dull. Some edges I have had edges come that were unacceptable. Like, there's no way I'm ever carrying this or using this until I sharpen it.
Yeah, that's how I am too. If it's not blatantly obvious, though, I'll use it for a little bit till I hand it to you.
I bought 2 Spyderco tenacious and copper and tie scales from Flatanium, clip from Lynch, and Blue Hardware, and they both came out sweet. I did both knives while I was sitting here watching you guys. Awesome. Hell yeah. Sounds dope. All right, guys. I'm gonna eat something. I appreciate you guys hanging out with me and doing some knife sharpening. Like I said last week, we are moving everything over to the sharpening bench where we'll have more supplies and I'll have everything at the in reach, including the magnifying glass and all that bullshit.
Except
So,
me, I might be out of reach.
Kara won't be out of reach. She'll be there too.
I will.
How
are we gonna fit me?
Trust me.
Okay,
We'll figure it out. We'll figure it out. So, the next Bang Gang Live is going to be fucking lit. All right. Woo! I love you guys. Until next time. Peace.
Bye.
Do that again.
Bye.